Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is Michael O'Malley here at the Hurricane Outlook and discussion for June 15th, 2020, recorded around 4:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Well, taking a look here at the latest sea surface temperature anomalies, last updated yesterday. Again, you continue to notice the waxing here of any warm anomalies here, signifying a warm neutral. We are now heading towards a La Nina base state in the atmosphere. And again, this is going to continue to provide the focus for a very robust Atlantic hurricane season this year. Again, numbers out in here are now starting to head down towards the -2 to -3 degrees Celsius below the long-term average. We also continue to have these little instability waves, as they're called. They are kind of hinting at these little instability waves that are transferring across the ocean here. And this will continue to favor less and less of these warmer positive anomalies. You can see even here, just south of Hawaii, some of these numbers are now creeping in. Really not seeing any significant signs of a busy Eastern Pacific season. Again, most of these anomalies aren't even that high right now. Conversely, over here in the Atlantic Basin, again, we continue to head towards a favorable AMO Phase 1 base state, which typically favors the warming of the Canary Islands all the way down through portions of the Atlantic Main Development Region. And that's only going to continue to strengthen as we go throughout time. Also, another interesting thing of note here, you notice these areas of cooler than normal anomalies down here in the southern Atlantic Basin. This is a southern Atlantic La Nina type environment too. And what that's going to do is all of the intertropical convergence zone, which is sitting down here south of the main development region currently, this is actually going to strengthen the gradient of the temperatures and air down here in the atmosphere. That is going to favor the shifting north of this, the intertropical convergence zone with time. And that's going to favor a more robust environment for these tropical waves to come together out here in the main development region. And certainly we're already seeing signs of that with fairly strong positive anomalies over here for the rainfall amounts, the precipitation. Again, the African easterly waves, the AEWs, are stronger as they come across this area. So certainly something to monitor, and even all the way in through the Caribbean. So certainly something to monitor here as we go through time. Real quick look here at the upper ocean heat content numbers. Again, most of it's right now still focused out here in portions of the not the subtropical, but the southern Atlantic Basin. In the Caribbean, that's where it's typically favored for this time of the year. We also see some out here in the subtropical Atlantic as well. Again, the main development region currently, especially the western part of the basin, really running here with those numbers in the lower part again. But as we go throughout time, this is the ITCZ, or the Intertropical Convergence Zone, that will be shifting north throughout time, bringing those warmer than normal anomalies up here to portions of the northern portions of the main development region. Quickly now taking a look here again, we're going to continue to advertise this, but this is our unmanned camera systems, our version 1, if you will, of these unmanned camera systems, composing of a GoPro system and a casing. And what we're going to be doing with this is we're going to be setting this out along the path of tropical cyclones as they make landfall along the coastlines. That's our goal and our big ambition. Again, this is all supported by you guys, so thank you very much for everyone who's been supporting this. Again, right now we are going to be testing this beginning this weekend. We are beginning a testing phase, likely on Saturday or Sunday. And this will really kind of get you a bird's eye view of exactly what goes on inside the tropical cyclones and all the fury and power as they make landfall along the coastlines. Right now for this year, we are planning to keep it here locally, but as we expand throughout time, as we get more funds and grants, we will be putting this eventually along the coastlines for that raw fury and power of these tropical cyclones as they make landfall. If you guys do want to support this, again, here's my Twitter, Mike Remalley1, R-E-M-A-L-E-Y for the last name. If you guys do want to go check that out and support it, make sure you guys do. Also check out my website while you're there for more up-to-the-date information. Again, I will be posting consistently on here for up-to-the-date information regarding the tropics, and also with our unmanned camera systems. But again, that's one of the things provided by you guys. So thank you very much for that. Now, continuing on here, taking a look here at the actual sea surface temperatures. This is coming off the CDAS methodology from tropicaltidbits.com. Again, we continue to zoom in here on the western portions of the Atlantic Basin here, really from west of 50 west here to south of 30, although this is now starting to creep up, especially in the Gulf Stream. You see how that Gulf Stream temperatures have expanded. We're getting closer to the coastline. And again, these cooler and cooler temperatures up here will continue to abate further off towards the north here with time. But this area in particular is more than favored, at least in a thermodynamic sense, for this time of the year, especially in the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico and then the Gulf Stream. This area is running much above the long-term average, in some cases a full degree Celsius above the long-term average, with water temperatures running about 28 to 29 Celsius above above that for the most point here. Even some 30 Celsius maybe right along the coastlines here. But again, for the most part, we're seeing most of our favorable environments here in this particular area and then out here across portions of the Eastern Pacific main development region. But we also will continue to look here at the sea surface temperatures also from the CDAS here out here in the tropical Atlantic. Again, this is our main development region typically right here. This is right now we're actually seeing some of that 26 degree isotherms right here running in the southern portions of the main development region. And then once you start getting past about 45 west, which is right about in here, this line right in through about here, this area is now getting more and more favorable for these tropical cyclones, these African easterly waves to come off and find a more favorable water temperature environment down here, although the wind shear is still a little too much at this point, running about 40 to 50, even some 60 knots out here in portions of the main development region. So still a little bit too long for that. However, we do have something to keep our eyes on here over the next couple of days here. This is out here across portions of the Southern Carolina coastline here, out here just probably about 100 or so nautical miles off the Georgia and South Carolina coastline, expected to be moving off towards the north here over the next several days. This is only given a 10% chance of development over the next 5 days or so. Gradually, this is expected to lift off towards the north and northwest here, not really giving it much time over these warmer waters here. Again, water temperatures in this area are running about 26 to 28 Celsius, especially in the Gulf Stream. However, here's a look at the satellite here again. This is a very disorganized system with our low-level center probably somewhere in there. This could acquire some subtropical characteristics as it gradually lifts off towards the north here over the next day or so. But this is expected to be a large rainmaker. You notice all of this convection off towards the east of the system here, impacting portions of the Carolinas, with flooding being the main concern for portions of the Carolina coastline here. And taking a look at where this is supposed to go again, this low pressure system is expectedly gradually off towards the north here, expected to move gradually off towards the north and northwest here over the next 24 hours. And a more zoomed in look at this here again shows generally staying off here the Carolina, out the South Carolina coastline over the next 12 hours, bending back towards the northwest here and northwest over the next day or so. Maybe making it into the North Carolina coastline. Again, this isn't expected to be a tropical system. This could acquire some subtropical characteristics, although very low chance of that right now, 10% chance. Again, the main threats right now are going to be the heavy rainfall and some gusty winds and any of these squalls. Again, generally moving off towards the northwest today over the next several hours, and then generally over the next 24 hours, taking on more of a northwesterly turn after about 12 hours or so, and could be impacting portions of the Carolina coastlines here, including Wilmington, North Carolina, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, Charleston, South Carolina. Portions of the Outer Banks get some heavy rain from this too, and I've already seen some heavy rain. So just kind of keep in mind of that. But again, really not expected to develop into anything, but we are watching this here as this tries to head up in the general direction of North Carolina, dumping a ton of rainfall and some gusty winds and some of those heavier squalls. Now, on to the UK, the seasonal predictions here coming off the European and UK Met precipitation anomalies. This comes from Ben Knoll over in the United Kingdom. He's really good at making these maps here. This is coming off of the raw data coming from the European and UK Met models combined into a super blend model. And this is through August and October of this year. And again, one interesting thing, again, all of these greens here, all of these green anomalies, these are the above normal precipitation. And then where you start to see these browns in here, that's your below normal precipitation in this area. And one very interesting thing is we continue to see a very consistent signal in through portions of the southern main development region, in through portions of the Lesser Antilles and the Caribbean area. We typically have started to see a signal, a sign in the atmosphere, in the environment, and in the computer guidance models that above normal precipitation is going to be expected for the peak of the hurricane season, August through October. And that's very worrisome in the sense that it's been very consistent. We haven't seen models flip flop between showing this positive anomaly and then showing a below normal anomaly. It's been very consistent. And consistency at this range is your key. It's like your keys to the game. And we've really started to see the consistency hone in on the southern portions of the main development region through the Caribbean. And it's very interesting that we're not seeing any of these recurve anomalies where we see these positive green anomalies that show up through here. That's kind of this recurve anomaly. You don't really see that. You start to see more of a blend of above normal precipitation in portions of the southern main development region through the Gulf of Mexico, the southeastern United States, and the East Coast, the Lesser Antilles, the islands. That's a very favorable signature that we've seen on and on now through most of the model guidances. And again, this is going to be very interesting to see whether or not this is actually showing us kind of where things might go. And a very interesting thing that we're going to do is as we go on throughout the season, we're going to plot all of the data that's coming in from these tropical cyclones and where they're going. And we're going to compare it. We're going to take a look at this here come the end of the year and see whether this actually came to fruition or not. But it is very interesting, and this is showing the signature at the very least that we are going to be dealing with a very busy hurricane season, and it's almost going to be a guaranteed at this point that we're going to have a busy season. No way around it. I do not believe this will be a 2013 bust. I do believe that this thing will be a very serious season. So keep, tuning into that. Again, it only takes one. That's the very important message there. Now, taking a look here at the GFS forecast from tropicaltidbits.com here. This is the 12C run valid as of 7 a.m. this morning. Again, we'll just run it out really through the next 168 hours here. Nothing to speak of in this part of the world at all. Again, there's really just not a lot of energy down here. And the same here with the European forecast model. Again, out to the next even 240 hours really. Nothing really going on. Again, there is going to be some increased trade winds across the portions of Africa here in the main development region. That's going to hinder any significant warming of the Atlantic Basin over the next coming days or so. But with time, we are still going to see this warm up here. We're almost a full half degree to a degree Celsius above the long-term average anyway. It's going to be a busy season, and we're going to be here to keep on top of everything. Just taking a real quick look here, and I mentioned this yesterday. This is coming off the European ensemble forecast of the 200 millibar velocity potential anomaly. Basically, that's the rising and sinking air in the atmosphere. And where you start to see these browns and reds here, you're getting the more sinking air. And that roughly translates to this part of the world right here, typically in the Central Pacific and then in our ENSO areas. This roughly correlates to the Western Pacific Basin and portions of Africa over here. And this area right here, and by the way, we're going down with time. So this is the 29th of June. This is the 15th of June rather. And again, as we go throughout time, and it's something to pay attention to, you notice these green anomalies here that start to show up in portions of the Eastern Pacific Basin and off into portions of the Western Atlantic Basin. We start to see the more favorable rising air in the atmosphere. That's what these greens are showing us, the rising air potential in the atmosphere, roughly translating into portions of the Eastern Pacific and portions of the Western Atlantic Basin. That coincides with the potential for more convection, more potential, and more favorable potential here for tropical cyclones to develop in this part of the world. So really as we start to go throughout time here, really starting here about the 21st of June onward into the month of July likely, this part of the world is going to be favored here, at least in the rising air in the atmosphere. Portions of the eastern Pacific basin, the northern Pacific, the western part of the Atlantic basin, the Caribbean, Gulf of Mexico. It's the time to watch, and it is as we typically head through July, the end of June into July. That's our most favorite areas. It's something to monitor, and the signs are there for something to monitor now as we go on throughout time. There over the next several weeks. Coincidentally, this is the European Ensemble forecast mean here for the MSLP anomalies, the mean sea level pressures showing out here to the next 240 hours, showing a consistent pattern here of tropical cyclone formation possible here in portions of the Pacific Basin, the Eastern Pacific Basin, as we go on throughout time. Again, that's coinciding nicely, lining up here with our rising air in the atmosphere. So the models are picking up on that. It is something to monitor. Again, you notice not much out here in the Gulf of Mexico, but again, can't completely rule out anything with these favorable anomalies. Certainly the Eastern Pacific Basin might become active here over the next several days or so in weeks. That's something to monitor. Of course, we'll stay tuned to everything here. Again, regardless of everything, the signs are there for what could be a busy hurricane season this year. The 2020 Atlantic hurricane season is likely to make its name. And again, it only takes one. This is not to hype anything, not to scare anyone. We don't want to do that. But we do want to make you aware. That's the reason why we're here doing this for you guys. Again, speaking of you guys, this camera system, again, all of this is being provided and possible by you guys. This is the type of stuff that we want to do for you. Again, live, unedited, just the raw fury and power of these tropical cyclones as they make landfall. If that's something you guys want to support, make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel. Subscribe, follow me on Twitter. And if you guys want to support this, great. If not, hey, it's no big deal. Again, we are here because of our supporters here, and I'm very thankful for each and every one of you. You make this possible. Hope y'all have a great rest of your afternoon and evening. I am Michael O'Malley, and I'll see you back here again tomorrow afternoon.